We are made in God's image. I mean, we hear that in a lot of different centers and so forth, but we're made in God's image. But we really have only one identity, and that is God is, and I am, right? God is, I am. That's our only real identity. However, when we come into the earth plane, we conjured up a couple of other identities. We have which can never change, we have our divine identity. But then there's also a soul. So there's a spiritual self, the divine self, and then there seems to be an evolving soul. In case that doesn't already strike a little flag there for some reason, if we are made in God's image, what is the evolving soul? What are you evolving? If you were already made perfect, what are you evolving? That's because we thought we could separate and we became souls. So there's the fire of God that we are, that's spirit. It's also known as I am. And then there's a spark that sort of, sparked off of the fire. It's an ember, it's a spark. That's the soul. And the soul looks like it left the fire, but really it's carrying the fire. But it looks separate. So that's our evolving soul. Where are we evolving to? How are we evolving? We're already divine. So that's why some people will say the spiritual path is really about remembering, not learning and gaining. The soul just has to remember what it is, and then it surrenders and becomes the beloved again. It dissolves into the oneness, the love of God, which is really great. There's another problem. The soul then conjured up a body to live in and learned to think that was it. Who are you? My name's Michael, or I have a certificate, or I don't. I'm a parent, I'm a non-parent, I'm a male, a female, I'm gay or straight. All these titles. And none of which are true. They're just called masks that we wear. Some, of course, are the wounded masks, and some are the achievements. But not one is real, they're still masks. Underneath the mask is the soul, and underneath the mask of the soul is the I am again. So it's kind of cool. It looks, though, like we have three selves. A spirit self, or spiritual self, the soul, and then the humanness. Now, some people would interpret what I say, or what some teachers say, as dissing the human self. You can't really diss the human self. Some people make it holy. Oh, the human self is wonderful. Isn't it great that you're a body that goes through lessons and then has limitations that never end and gets old constantly and wants to die every day, and, back to dust. From the dust, you return to the dust. I don't know who made that up, because I'm not dust. If I'm spirit, if I'm God, how could I be dust? That means you're made up of dust. And then if you seem to be anyway, your body, you're made up of dust, that's all. But you're really the divine I am, but you're just wearing the cloak, the body of the dust. And the frequency of my beliefs in my soul are going to help determine what dust I attract. Dust called molecules, or atoms or molecules, that are attracted to the body to make up what I am. If I am confident, the dust is going to collect to this soul. It's going to vibrationally be compatible, like filings to a magnet. It's going to attract and make up the body. And it's always going to make it up perfectly, because you can't have the body or the molecules attracted to the soul that don't vibrate compatibly to it. So you can't have my molecules, I can't have yours. It's all compatible. Every hair is numbered, as they say in the Bible. Everything somehow is perfect, but perfect doesn't mean perfect in God's image of perfect. It means perfectly compatible to what the beliefs are. So if I believe that I have good self-esteem, I'm going to attract molecules, including jobs and cash. And molecules are not just cells. It also means everything. You walk down the street with low self-worth, you might attract the molecules in the form of a rock that you trip over and land in the mud. God, that always happens to me. Perfect. It's perfect. And there's a part of us that would like things like that to never happen, so that we can seem more perfect than we seem to be. It's like I want to wear a mask where I seem to be better off than the mask that makes me look like I'm not. But they're all still masks. So one of the ways to approach that is to be able to own it and laugh at it. Isn't that funny how, this happens or that happens and so on? Isn't it funny how I'm made in God's image, and yet, here I am with another wrinkle or another gray hair. Instead of, oh my God, it takes me down, it's like it's preposterous. It really is. So some people are making the body into something very bad and shameful, and that's not healthy. But then other people worship it. The younger you can make it look, the better off, and you flaunt it and you do this and that. I taught for years and years on sacred sexuality just as one topic. And it's a very difficult topic to teach on, because as soon as you say you're teaching it, people expect that you're doing it a certain way. And then they don't understand that you're not, why, and that you're not doing it that way. So I would go to conferences, and there would be all these, lust bunnies attending. Well, usually it's sexual addicts, but the rooms filled with. But there are some people that sincerely want to heal. There are some there that want to heal. They just don't know what they're getting into by going to some of these events. So they go thinking it's about healing, and then everybody's sometimes just leaning towards the wild and permissive kind of side. So I get up there and I say, look, the first thing you have to understand, well, I'll do something first to get their attention. So I might do a demonstration. And all of a sudden, I'm demonstrating 1 and then 2 and then 3. I bring another volunteer, and I got them all in the center, and they're exchanging energy. Like I'm just downloading like a Qigong energy, and they're all starting to go into these fits, which is appropriate because this is an orgasmic kind of a conversation, at a sex conference. So these people are all having these body reactions, and then now they're all like, the people watching are like, I want to know what he has to say, And then I say, so, would you like to be able to do that? Yes! Oh my God, I want what he's having, And they go, yes, we want that. And I said, so lesson number 1, you are not a body. So stop touching the body. And now they're all like confused. Dismay sets into the room. Deep depression, What do you mean? Did you see me touch anybody? Well, no. You have to know the magic is beyond the magic. You have to understand how this works. Stop rubbing things. Just stop. Stop getting caught up in all this stuff. So, I usually would end those talks with, don't pet the sweaty stuff. I mean, don't sweat the petty stuff. No. Okay, so. Okay, there's people that expected to attend church today, so let me switch. No, in all honesty, it's all relevant, okay? It's all relevant because I was making a point. You're not a body, guys. Oh, you have to honor the body. As soon as you say you need to honor the body, you're making me a body, which is a 3-dimensional limited being. Don't touch my body until you see my soul and until you can affirm my spirit. You can touch and rub it. It'll eventually come to an end. You can't keep doing that. You can't keep, making everything about the body. Feed it just right. You're still going to die. Stop getting into the body. Find the soul. If you go after the body, you will lose your soul, you're told in scriptures. What does it profit you to gain your body and lose the soul? He means as soon as you focus on the body, you lost sight of the soul or the deeper parts of a person. In fact, you can focus on the body so much, you can forget that part of the stuff that makes up the body is the wounds that are deep inside. I want you to see that too. Help me, please. Don't look at me. Look at what I'm made up of. Can you help me? I've got some wounds. And when you can do that, that's lovemaking. That's the presence. And you won't find the divine I am until you can get past the ego I am not. And the ego I am not has a body. This thing that's 3-dimensional. The God I am has a body. It just can't be seen with human eyes. Look with the eyes of the ego I am not body, and you're going to see that which I am not. How are we doing? You see? See, it's like we're dating. The ego I am not is dating the ego you are not. Wow, this is really cool. How far can that go if we just affirm that it is not? It's that which I am not. If I'm sick, the reason we do the Hawaiian Ho'oponopono prayer is because you're saying, why do you say I'm sorry in that prayer? Because it means I accidentally started focusing on the ego you are not. You can't be sick. And I bought into it for a minute. Sorry about that. That's what it means. And then when you say, I love you, forgive me and all that, what you're saying is, oops, sorry about that. I got caught up in your body. Whether you're being sensual with someone or whether you're working on a sick person's body. It's easy to get caught in the body. That's why the Tantric Buddhist would say it's almost impossible to ever deal with the body on a sensual level and understand the soul. So it's called the easy or quick path to enlightenment, Tantric Buddhism, because they're saying we're going to teach our students how to see not the body, but beyond it. And I'm referring to the contact Tantric people. There's also a non-contact religious Tantric Buddhism, but there's also a Tantra where you make contact. But what the others are saying, the religious ones are saying is, we're going to do the non-touch. Why? Because we have to tell you, it's next to impossible to touch a human being, especially sensually, and still keep sight of spirit. And those who can do it are on the short path to enlightenment. But why don't they do it? Because they say it's next to impossible. Because and Jesus says in A Course in Miracles, quick comment he's asked to make about sexuality or whatever, and he says, well, sex is an interesting thing because it's completely messed up. As soon as you touch something, it starts to feel good and then makes you want to go somewhere. You're now not in the moment, you're already where you want to go. A release of some kind. So he says, so people that are having contact are not here, they're already going, that feels good. What feels good? This thing. Okay, now what? And now it's got me hooked. Oh, let's go. And that's what the body does. Let's go. So he's saying if you could do it right, you would feel that, but then come back to center again. And feel and come back to center. And feel and come back. Just like when you're feeling afraid, come back. Afraid, come back. Sick, come back. It doesn't matter what the world's doing. The divine I am doesn't have to buy into that. The only thing that buys into it is the ego I am not. And I don't need to be too concerned about that, other than seeing when it's happening and make a different choice. I see this is happening, but this is not God I am. So even if you're being intimate, and the talk really isn't on intimacy today, but even when you're being intimate, what you can do is say, wow, isn't this amazing? How wonderful this feels, and yet I'm choosing to call in your divine presence. I'd like to feel who you really are. I know I'm feeling what you are not. I'd like to feel what you really are. And that's a shift in consciousness that happens. It doesn't mean you flee from the contact with the other person. A hug to your children, a lovemaking to your partner, or whatever it is. You don't run from those things. That's when we took things too serious on the religious level. So vows of no love, no contact. Even Buddha walked away from his family. But that's the extremism that we sometimes go through. It's not to make it something to worship, nor is it to have to run away from it. All we have to do is learn to say, how can I see this differently? How can I see this from the divine I am? Oh, I like this talk. I'd like to be more of that. How do I become the divine I am? I just told you how. Recognize when you are being the ego you are not, own it, surrender it, and then call in the other one. That's all you got to do. Here it is again. I'm being the ego I am not. Got it. And I'm giving that up, and I'd like to experience now the God I am. Just remember, though, when you call in the presence of the God I am to feel and experience, you can't do that by yourself because God is one. So you don't go, I'm gonna go over here, away from you, and be in the God I am. And you can't be it. You can't do that to people. Now, it may seem like, well, you would never literally do that, but you are doing that when you think someone is unworthy of God's love and your love. It doesn't mean you have to move in with people that are kind of hurtful in their behavior, but you mustn't exclude them in here and in here. There has to be an affirmation. If I am as God created me, so are you. And if I want to feel that in my day-to-day life, I have to be willing to not only feel it here, I have to be willing to see it for you too. Dear Lord, take me away from all rude and hurtful people and help me to be more like you and perfect and divine. You just made a sentence that's an impossibility. As soon as you excluded someone, it's and so it is. Judge and you are judged. That wasn't like a condemning statement of Jesus. He was just kind of hanging out, straw kind of chewing on some judgment, you say, by the way, as soon as you judge others, you do know that you're judged already yourself, right? And it's not like he was trying to judge, and ye shall be judged, judge. He wasn't doing it. He was just making a point of fact. As soon as you do judge, you are judged. Because you're the thing you just judged. What you don't like in another is mirroring something in us anyway. Love to all. You can still say no to people. That's actually healthy boundaries. One day people will not come from the ego I am not, and they won't have to have boundaries. And I affirm that that day is already here. Instead of, well, I think I'm getting that today, but you're probably going to take a while. You can't do that. You have to affirm that it is the truth and the law of God, that it's already here. How can you see healing for anybody if all you see is, wow, you're really sick? This is going to take special healing. As soon as you gave it that magnitude, and so it is. But when you did judge them as being really, really sick or really financially broke or whatever it is, beyond help, as soon as you do that, you're also affirming your own state of consciousness. I'm not capable of affirming your goodness. And we think it's because you're too far gone. It means my faith in who you really are hasn't gotten there yet. The ego, I am not, mostly runs this world. And I'm not saying that there's no hope. The ego, I am not, I already said, it is not. It doesn't really exist. So that's why Jesus says, resist not evil. Don't fight evil. All the people, everybody getting all trippy about economy or about politics. And watch yourselves, because you claim to be spiritual, but you're getting hooked. I don't care what the headlines are. You got hooked. Well, this time it's right to get hooked. Really? So you're saying sometimes the ego I am not is good and justified. It's either real or it isn't. It can't be real sometimes if it is the ego I am not. So, and I'm not dissing you because we all get hooked on something. You just be careful, because people know how to hook you, whether it's advertising, whether it's shock value things. People, they know how to hook you. And our job is to say, I get it. Well, what value is there for this? Hey, did you hear? No, what? Something terrible happened. Really? What's going on? Oh, this and that and the other. Oh, now I'm getting hooked because I'm getting, well, why did they do that? And did it be good and bad? And our job is to recognize, like Jesus said, you will always have issues in this world. It's made from the ego I am not. It's going to do that. Why would you be shocked? No, but this time they're really bad. This time it's politics. How did you not ever hear about that before? It's always been messed up. Almost every instance of politic is ego-oriented. But God bless the person who can get into politics and try to come from a different place. That's a master. That's a master. I dig that. And there have been some that have tried, like Abraham Lincoln. I don't care. You can say, well, I think his hair was too long or whatever. You can find something you don't like. I never liked his fashion sense. I don't care that you don't like his fashion. I'm not going to get hooked and not like his fashion sense. Look into the soul of a person. And a lot of times our actions can demonstrate what's happening in here. That's why Jesus was telling you, don't obsess on what you put in the mouth as a food and think it makes you holy. Your words that come out of your mouth are going to let us know more what you're about than the food you put in. Man, as you sit there, on your raw broccoli and hummus kind of lunch. Can you put hummus with broccoli? Can you? Okay, so hummus and broccoli. So you're doing your hummus and broccoli as you sit there, and I heard, and I hate that person, and it doesn't work. This doesn't make you holy and counter your hatred. Edgar Casey had a great statement about your liver, your spleen, your stomach, that these organs cannot be healthy if you hate, if you judge, if you have resentment. It's toxifying your system. Eat healthy foods, but also think healthy thoughts and speak healthy words. That's why Zarathustra, Buddha, Jesus, one of the most consistent sayings out of all the teachers, they don't always all say the same thing. Two of them might say the same thing, another three might say this, but one of the only sayings that all of them agreed and seemed to have stated, good thoughts, good words, good deeds. along those lines. So I need to become the holiness that I really am. And that's not going to happen by getting down on myself when I slip and act like the ego I am not. What do you do with that? You own it, just like if you saw it in somebody else. Where did that come from? Wow. That comment, that mood, that something. The ego I am not. You're going to go through the dark night of the soul. I just did a talk on that Friday. You can go on and watch it. It's free on YouTube. But the dark night of the soul. You're going to go through the dark night of the soul. It's still not who you are. What's the purpose of life's tests? What's the purpose of you and I going through the dark night of the soul? Ultimately, there is no purpose, because ultimately I'm made in God's image and I am that I am. Then why do we have to do all that? Because I forgot and I became an ego I am not. That draws me towards lessons and tests in life, so that I look like I'm, finally kind of learning. You're not really ever learning anything, you're just remembering. But it looks like I'm learning and I'm going through tests and I'm becoming stronger, more faithful, more spiritual, more centered, and all that. But the moment you wake up and go, it actually finally, boom. All you do is go, I just had the weirdest dream. That's all that happens. It's not like I made it. Thank God, all my tests. It's like you realize it was all a dream. You dreamt that you were less than divine, and it's not true, and you woke up. That's, A Course in Miracles calls that a moment of great laughter. When you go, wait, this is weird, man. Just had the weirdest dream. I mean, now I'm in the oneness of love and God. This is fantastic. But I just had the weirdest dream. And the angels gather around. Really, what happened? It was kind of weird. I mean, first of all, I was a completely messed up person. What do you mean messed up? What's that? It's hard to explain in the divine I am of love. But it's when you do everything contrary to love. Why would you do that? I have no idea. Did it give you something? Well, no, because there is only love. So what could non-love bring me? Okay, sounding insane so far, but go ahead, tell us the rest. And and then I went through that, and then people broke my heart. How did they break your heart? What heart? You mean well, I had this organ that I thought I had, and it was called a heart, but I mean the heart chakra. They don't go, ooh, chakra. They go, what's a chakra? Well, a chakra is, you have a chakra here and then another chakra, and they're all different. We don't know different, we only know one. Yeah, but these are different chakras. And usually if you go to certain towns, they're going to want to work on certain chakras, your crown and your heart, because, you need to open your heart, to be more loving. Why would you need anything to be more loving? You are love. I know. Don't get me started. This whole thing was weird. And because I was living in this bizarre story, I got sick. What's that? Okay, you got this body. What's a body? Okay, pretend that you're like a turnip. You're a thing. Yeah, what's a turnip? It's a thing. You mean you're no longer? No. You're a thing. And then, because you're so upset as a thing that you don't do anything divine, you're believing that you're a thing, it upsets you inside, and so you start to get sick, which means you start to become a death version of that thing, a dying version. This is how the description would go, or the conversation would go. I had a bad dream. That's all it was. It was a weird dream that I was a messed up person. How did you get out of that? How did you get back to heaven? Okay, well, I started, wearing white or purple, and I wore a crystal, and what are those? I just don't forget it. And then I made sure I ate right, because that made me more spiritual. And then I went to workshops and learned to Om Mani Padme Hum and Boom Shakalaka Boom. And I learned to do this and chant and gongs and wrong, on and on and on. I tried gongs and bongs. I tried, just about anything and everything to get home. And I stood on one foot for hours and hours. Why did you do that? Because my yogi told me to. I just stood there and on one foot, and fingers, ram-a-lam-a-lam-a ding dong, and I did all these, and when you think it, look at what we do. We sit around doing these things, and then Monty Python, boom, and then, so you do all these things, and they're going to go, did it help? Not really. How did you then wake up? And you're going to say, I learned to forgive. I learned to forgive myself, not for thinking I needed all those things, because in the illusion, All of those things were helpful. Bettering my diet and doing yoga, all those things in the illusion, they were helpful because they taught me how to think and feel as though I was having a happy dream. It's still happening in the dream, but it was a happy dream. Before I did that, I toxified my body and I lived very hatefully towards myself. So it was right while in the dream to wake up and say it's time for a happy dream. That's why we do these things. Those things don't actually earn your way back to God. You are as God created you. I am as God created me. All the other stuff is just my negotiation of it, my movement, my dance with it. That's all. You don't make them negative, but don't make them holy either. They're just signs of good, healthy choices today. It's a sign of my moving in the right direction. I am. 3 letters. I-A-M. I am. I represents the eye of God. The I, like E-Y-E, the eye of God here. I am. It's the upper 3 chakras is the eye of God. Just like there's a top, a bottom, and a middle branch of, there's 3 pieces to that capital I. I am. And there's 3 chakras. All right? Now, the lower 4 chakras are going to be, let me say it another way. The lower 4 chakras get split. One's the heart, and then you have 3 lower ones below that. So watch this carefully. I-A-M. I is up here, a single line. And it ends. It starts with a single line, a single point, and it ends with a single point because God is one. And then the I connects to the tip of the A in my heart, which is 1 point. Because 1 point joined with 1 point, the A in my heart. The A then splits into how many points at the bottom? 2. So, in the heart, all right, in the heart, the I connects to the A tip of the A splits into 2 parts. Now, why 2 parts? Because the M is going to be representing the lower 3 chakras, and the top of the M has 2 points that connect with the bottom of the A, and the bottom of the M has 3 points representing your 3 lower chakras. I, 1 connects to 1 becomes 2. 2 becomes the top of the M, the pointed parts of the M, and connects there and splits into 3, the lower 3 chakras. 1 set of 3 is 1, I, the God presence. It splits to the A, and that's my heart. Seemingly split off from God. Seemingly instead of 1 point, splits into 2. So that's called duality. Where does it originate? In my heart and soul. In God, there's no such thing as duality. But in my heart, I started to believe in it. Why? Because that's where my soul is, and my soul learned to believe that it was separate from God. And then that soul gave birth to another 3 centers, so at the bottom of the M, you have 3 points. And that's my lower 3 chakras. However, notice that the I am includes my whole being. It brings the I presence of God into all aspects, all of my chakras. All of me, high and low. So we can't actually decline or ignore or walk away from, or whatever you want to call it, the human self. This is what we believe we are. Now we have to bring the divine presence into it. As I am. The ego says I am not. The ego says I'm just down here struggling to get by. That whole divine stuff up there, do you see God? No. Do you feel God on a regular basis? No. You better just rely on me as your guide, because I'm as terrified as you are, and we need to get through this the best we can. Which is not really an intention it has other than the misery for us. So the ego is saying, look, there is no God. And it sure seems true. Anatomically, we're down in the lower 3 chakras. Do you know how the lower 3 chakras, how do you get to the 4th chakra? Well, you just rise. No, you can't. You have a diaphragm anatomically that doesn't want the lower 3 chakra energy to get up to the heart. You have a diaphragm. And ancients used to say, this is just another 100 or so years ago, people started, and whenever that time was, people started wearing ties. There's people that are into somatic body work kind of laugh at that, because they said even when we wore ties, we were trying to cut off the flow from our divine chakras into our heart and into our body. Just choke it back. So instead, open, so they would, people that are into somatic forms of healing, they're like, open it up. Find the blocks in the body. The diaphragm doesn't have to be actually stuck. So when they show you breathing, they demonstrate breathing, they look to see, are you breathing totally? Or is it just barely? And when it's barely, there's a reason. It's a statement. I'm barely here. I'm barely wanting to be here. I'm afraid or I'm wounded. This shallow breathing. So to bring the breath all the way through the body, to see if even the pelvis, even the feet should respond to a breath. It shouldn't be here. It shouldn't be up here. It should be everywhere. The presence of God. The other way is like the ego saying, let's keep God stuck way up there and not experience it here and now. I am as God created me. The ego saying, I am not. Shut the door immediately. Lock it down. Diaphragm. Boom. And we have other segments that are like diaphragms, but this is the big one. The one that keeps the lower three chakras of the I am not to the heart, which then connects me to the divine I am. So we learned that even on a somatic level, breathing, it's all so symbolic. Wow. God, I feel different. You get the body work done and, certain types of body work particularly, and all of a sudden you feel more energy flowing through. Now, that's good news. The body worker opens you up and you go, things are flowing more than they ever have. That's good news. But moments after, the ego is going to say, what have you done? What do you think you're doing? Well, I'm feeling really, no, you're not. What are you trusting? Really? Well, we'll make sure that by the time you get home, we're going to give you 10 other people just on the road to not trust. 10 other reasons to not trust. You better watch out. Really? Yeah, here we go again, locking it up again. So the body work often does not last because the mind hasn't caught up to it. The only value the body work has is sending a signal to the mind to change itself. If all you do is the body work without the mind change, meaning the soul change, the belief systems change, then it's really in vain. You're just wasting your money because you're just going to be stuck again a minute later, an hour later, or whatever it happens to be. So you get the body work. A good healer should not just be doing the work, and you should not be going to one just to get the work. It's experiencing the work. Did you breathe and receive? Were you becoming aware at all of the things that helped make you stuck? Because that's what it's about. The former days, we did all these doctors and body workers and so on. In the future, they're going to be called healers. They won't be names from one to another. They're going to be called healers because they'll have one purpose, healing, not doings, not surgeries or pills or herbs or rubs. It's going to be, they're healers. Why? Because they're accomplishing what the only thing healing is about. Less ego, more God. That's what a healing looks like. Less ego in whatever capacity, at whatever capacity, that's a good sign. But some people will help you get some of the ego out, but they don't replace it with God. So therefore it's not healing. Other people will preach the God, but not touch and not do any body work, or not do any healing on the body. So that's, in a sense, limited. I need to release some of the old if it's healing. Something old has to go, something new has to come in. And now it's a complete system. I emptied my cup and my cup was refilled. And I feel different. Now, you feel different, but that's going to be forever. A Course in Miracles explains to us, when you have something like that happen, you might even shift back a little bit to your old patterns. But what you accomplished, it says, will be held for you forever until you come back. When you gain God consciousness, you don't, like in this world, we think, oh, I used to be spiritual and then I lost it. Or, I was out of it and then became spiritual. In this world, you can go back and forth. The reality is, every real bit of God you gain can't be lost. There's never and then I lost that. It's forgotten for now, but it's never lost. Only stuff in this world can be seemingly gained and seemingly lost. There's no seeming with God. It's real. I am. And when we talk about the I am presence of God, it's almost hilarious because we're thinking of that thing up there. Moses went and spoke to God up on the mountain. But was there really a mountain? Yeah, probably. But is it also symbolic? Yes. Meaning Moses didn't just climb on a mountain. Like people going under the red rocks in Sedona. I climbed a mountain, so I'm holy now. No, you're not. Did you also go up on the mountain in here? When you climbed the mountain, did you climb the mountain? Did you go up and just think, now that I'm at a higher altitude, I'm more spiritual? I even feel lighter. No, you're passing out. That's called altitude sickness. I mean, come on. You have to also go up the mountain. So when Moses says, okay, look at the analogy. Moses, I climb up a mountain. It's tedious, took days, man. It took days to get to that level of altitude, to get up that mountain. I got up there, and then I saw God in this fiery, this bush, and its voice was speaking to me. And then it gave me 2 tablets of laws. Very cool. Very cool. That's a master. But what it's telling us also happened that isn't talked about or understood, and it's also telling us what has to happen to us is not go to the same mountain to try the same thing. It's to live it. So living it means, guess what? There's this guy named Moses, like me, any of us. Here's what happened to him. He had to take some time. It took days. Had to take time to get to a higher level of consciousness. That's like prayer and meditation and fasting and getting to a higher level. When he got there, he starts to see and feel and hear the voice of God. Where has he gone? Up here to this place. And I saw this burning bush. That's my hair and my crown chakras all glowing. This is the burning bush. It's me. And I was given these 2 tablets. That's the messages given into the right and left sides of the brain. Hemispheres. So all of this is actually analogy of my own inner process. And he hears the voice of God. You dang right. Right in here. And it's that I am. Oh, that's kind of cool. The downside is, even if one of us, any of us have that same vision, we're tempted to come down the mountain and think, well, I got to go back up there someday because God lives up there. What we're actually supposed to do is take God down into the world with us. Down into the day-to-day decisions. That's why he's given the 2 tablets, hemispheres of the brain, but he brings them down to the people and says, we have to live these laws. Because it means you don't just say I am, you live the I am presence. Those commandments that are actually commandments is translated as disciplines. These are things you should, do. Not things you better not do. These are guidelines of how to live spiritually. And for a time of cultures at that time, the murder and war and all the things going on, it applied. Don't kill, don't steal. It's common sense. But at the time you hear it as laws. But even laws have to become realities. You have to say, there's the laws, and the laws have to send a message to my heart for me to become a different person, not just keep behaving a certain way. People have done this for thousands and tens of thousands and even hundreds of thousands of years, trying to follow rules to behave differently so that it's more agreeable to some or law-abiding. But there's a point where all that can go because we learn to become the law. I would not. How could I kill or steal? How could I do anything? Covet thy neighbor's goods. What goods? There's not even a neighbor. We're all one. What am I going to covet? And why would you covet anything? Because you'd go, God, I wish I had that. The law is telling you not just to not covet, it's telling you, why would you? Just access the I am and create it. Get into the I am and say, hey, I need a car too. I don't have one. This is kind of cool. I am that I am. I am owning a new car, or I am, etc., 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 whatever it is. And then you have it. You don't need to, it's not don't covet. Watch out for coveting. Beware coveting. You're going to be punished if you covet. It doesn't make any sense to covet. Moses heard it as a law. But really, it was a principle. Why would you do that? That doesn't make any sense. There is no other. Why would you covet a person? Why would you covet a thing? There is nothing else. There's only one of us here, the Sufis say. There's only one of us here. What am I going to covet? I'm coveting that is me. I'm coveting that which is me. See, it doesn't make sense if you put it the other way. But you say, it's just me. All I see is part of me. And as I learn to access, do not use the Lord's name in vain. Okay, I better be careful. That meant that we shouldn't say God damn, better watch out. It's not like God's going, Oh my God, la, 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 I cannot hear such words. That's terrible. Plug my holy ears. I will not listen to such nonsense. And now you're going to go to hell because you said a cuss phrase. Do not use God's name in vain meant do not waste your time. Don't say I am sick. I am hateful. I am angry. Not because it's bad. It's a waste of time. The I am can't be sick. Don't use God's name in vain meant don't say I am and then say anything stupid. That was channeled from the highest heavens. But that's all it means. Why would you? Not beware. It's just, what did you just say? I said I am angry. What's anger? Well, it's when you're mad at someone. So for what? Doing something. To who? There's only one. Not doing what I wanted them to do. Why would that make you angry? If you are, as God created you, what do you need them to say or do for you? Dance? A dance for you? It doesn't make any sense. It makes sense to the ego I am not. Because the ego I am not says I lack something and I need you to give it to me. And if you don't, I'm mad at you. That's what anger is. It's a state of insanity coming from my own state of being off. What's the solution? The truth that I can't be, I can't need. And it's a hard, seemingly hard principle to live. Because then it sounds like I'm telling you, you all should do this and do that and don't ever let ego. I didn't say that. That would be ideal, but not because you behave a certain way, because you understand it. And at the same time, what I did say is see it, surrender it, and replace it. See it, surrender it, replace it. Just change the mind. I was angry. Why? Well, I was thinking, I was mad that you did such and such. But why would that make you angry? And when you really track it and look at it, it's because I was feeling inadequate and I wanted you to give me something. Or do something, or don't do something, or whatever it is. So I got angry at you for not. But what that did is affirm that I am not. That I am the ego I am not. And that what you give me is going to make me feel better. But it can't. As soon as I say I'm the ego I am not, meaning I lack something, need something, etc., drugs, alcohol, people, whatever it happens to be, our addictions, all of those things are affirming that it's true that I am not divine. As soon as you think you're going to get something and it's going to make you feel better, it's a sad, scary affirmation that you really are messed up and you need that thing. You know what I need? I need a good drink. Many TV shows or people or movies say, I need a stiff drink or I need a good drink. That's not actually true, but it's how you feel. You feel like you need a drink because you feel like something's off and it'll help you. It will not help you. It does. I drank and look, I'm more calm. You seem calm. You are drugged. You seem calmer. If the thing that happened inside did not get healed, you are not better. That's what it comes down to. You rubbed it, you medicated it, whatever. That's great. Good for you. And that is how the ego I am not works. But the divine I am was not restored because I medicated myself. So all that, and that's very deep stuff that I'm talking about here, but it's not beyond our grasp. It's our ability to say, what I know is I'm not feeling right, and I know that what I'm trying to do here is not going to fix it. I get that, and I'm going to give that to you, God. You give that to the Mother, the Divine Mother. You give that to the Holy Spirit. And then you say, and in replacement, you know what I'd like? More than anything is to feel your presence. In other words, it means to be restored to that which I am, which we can also call sanity. So again, I'm closing now. There's the God I am and the ego I am not. If you want to hear more about this kind of a talk, I've done this a couple of times, this type of talk. There's a video, I think it's called Spirit versus Matter, a video set. And one of the talks, because there's 4 like this, but 4. And one of them is the divine I am versus the ego I am not. And it goes a lot more detail than I did today. But, it's along those lines. If you want to know more, you can check that out. But think about how cool the wording is. The divine I am is the truth of who I am. God, that feels great. And no matter what you've ever done, and no matter what was ever done to you, that was never touched. All the 3 points down at the bottom of the M cannot migrate up and touch the 1. point of God. The three cannot become one. They need to be one, but they can't make themselves into one. The ego I am not versus the ego, the God I am, those are mutually exclusive. I can't be in the ego I am not simultaneously being in the God I am. And some of this may sound twisted, the words, it's hard to keep up with. It isn't. It's like Lao Tzu, who wrote the Tao, said, my words are actually simple. But the ego I am not makes it a hard thing to hear, because it wants to make it complicated when in fact it's not. So the ego I am not, the good news is, I just said, the ego I am not. You know, I did this hurtful thing once and I really feel regret. Who did it? The ego I am not, which means I did not do it. I seemed to have. I'm not telling you to start living a delusion that you never did anything. You know, the old fall down, that didn't hurt. You know, it's what I'm not asking you to do that. I'm saying just to recognize, if ever I did do something, own it. But own that it has no real power over the God I am. It only has a power while I identify with the ego I am not. It only has power in a world that is run by the ego I am not, or that we are not. So my job, putting it all another way, is kind of simple. Remember who I am and forget who I am not. Seems easy, but I'm addicted to that which I am not. I'm a female, I'm a male, I'm gay or straight. Those are identities. Those are false identifications. And they're all reflections of the ego I am not. What are you? Who are you? What are you into? What, you know, those little labels don't fit the God I am. They only fit here. And you have to respect the illusion, but I didn't say become the illusion. Respect the illusion. You know, if you're filling out a federal paper to get a passport, to be able to go on a trip, and you write on there, I am that I am. When they ask for gender, you know, just write something, man. Just write something that if they decide to do a strip search, it better match. You know, that's all that you need to do, is match the illusion for now. You know, if they say, what country are you from? You don't go, I am from all. Aren't we one? All nations. All, you know, they don't want to hear a philosopher because they'll lock you up. Just who are you? What are you? Oh, play the game. I'm not saying deny the game. Play it. Respect the game, but I didn't say believe in it. Respect it, but don't buy it. I've had horrible things happen to me in my life. Someone abused me, someone hurt me, someone took something from me, someone betrayed me. Okay, but thank God they only harmed the part that you are not. What part of them did those behaviors? The I am or the I am not? It's the I am. So it's the part that they are not did this to the part that I am not. Therefore, it does not have any power over me. And that's the truth of God. I could try to simplify it, make it seem easier, but that's the truth of God. And we need to start living that truth. It can be challenging, in my opinion, to try to live that principle all the time. It can be challenging. Because we're in a three-dimensional world and it mostly does not live by that or respect that. That's why we're supposed to know the truth but respect the illusion. Know in the deep recesses the truth of God. And be able to affirm such things. This does not have power over me. Well, in the middle of someone harming you, it's hard to believe that. So what you can do is go through it, do what you need to do right now in the immediate to get safe, you know, and so on. But when you get some time to do so, remind yourself, that felt so real. Now, you could say that's bad because I believed it. No. It's actually good. The more real it felt at the time, the more you got drawn in, the more you got sucked in, the more you reacted, the more you got passionate about fighting back to whatever they were saying or doing, the more deeply you're going to be able to bring the light into that dark place when you surrender that dark place. I did a bad thing. What? I had doubt. Did you bring light to the doubt? No. I tried to just forget that I even felt doubt. That's not what God wants you to do. We think that's what God wants us to do. Hide from our stuff. God instead is saying, well, since you're there, turn on the light. You don't understand, Lord. It's so dark down here. Well, turn on the damn light. Just turn it on. Like, come on. I can't because it's so dark. I'm scared. So I'm adding fear to the darkness. Turn on the light. But I can't because my hand's trembling. As soon as you turn on the light, everything will change about the fear and the reality of it. But you have to have the courage to do that. Well, how can I when I'm like this? Try Shake off the angst. Center yourself. Calm yourself. Yes, I know it's a divorce. Breathe. Breathe. I know they're saying rude things to you. Breathe. Breathe. I know they betrayed you. I know that they cut you out of the will. I know this happened and that. I get it. And breathe and find the light switch. And the light switch means switching my mind. A minute ago I thought you had absolute power. And in this moment you do not. And if you can't spiritually say that and believe it, you can do things viscerally to help. Because you can use the body to send a message that it's okay to calm. How? Like breathing. But even when I'm breathing, I'm thinking, oh my God, oh my God. Oh my God, oh my God. Okay, then try this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Counting on your in-breath. Why? Because you're occupied. Instead of, oh my God, during my inhale. Oh my God, during my exhale. Which just intensifies the problem. It's, okay, I'm going to think about 1, 2, 3, or the sound of the gong taking you inside. That's, all of a sudden they have value. The gongs and the chimes and the bells and hold your, worry stones, and they all have a value all of a sudden because you're using them simply as tools. Not as masters over you, but as tools of the master to remind. Okay, 1, 2, 3. And you'll find soon after, within a couple of breaths, you actually start to change your neurology. You start to change your chemistry. Even if you thought, but this won't work, do it a few times and you're already starting to shift from one part of your nervous system to another part, the part that is actually the metaphysical part of the nervous system, the part that can override by choice your other systems. The part that can make you calm down even when you don't seem like you should be able to calm down. The part that can bring in greater presence and calmness, which becomes a vessel into which God can come. You create that vessel. Okay, I'm calming down. Because if you go, oh my God, it's the tension, the fear, nothing can fix this. I can't believe how anxious I am. You are not creating a vessel for God. Breathe and relax and believe and surrender. Surrender, and then make space. And into the space comes a presence. And that presence is all that God is. It's the Holy Spirit. It's the Divine Mother. In comes the Divine Mother. This is great because I calmed. And I said, this stuff doesn't have the power I thought it. Oh my God, this is great. You're calming and you're making a space. Typically it's metaphysically or metaphorically it's in the heart. I'm making space. Now I'm a chalice. And then into the chalice comes the Holy Host. Like you see in a tarot card or in Catholic services, the Holy Host. Here comes the bread of life. That's the Holy Spirit. And she comes descending into my being, into my heart. And I start to feel a shift viscerally. I start to feel different. But here's the last part. When she comes in, she's a she. And she loves being pregnant. So when she enters me and becomes impregnated, she's going to give birth to the Christ child. Where? Right here. So I let go, I let God, and I become then birthed to a new level of consciousness. I might become, yes, viscerally a holy, divine, spiritual being, but sometimes it's just for a moment. And those little moments are called miracles, and all those miracles add up to one thing, at-one-ment with God. So every little choice, every little shift back to reality adds to our eventuality of our holiness, remembering who I am. All right. Pray that all made sense. And that's great, man. Spirit. All right. Let's take a few centering breaths. A few centering breaths. And during today's meditation, I'm sharing a few quotes. One from A Course in Miracles, and some from scriptures. Some cases not changing a single word, and in other cases just only one word, maybe sometimes in one letter. But notice how it changes everything that we were taught about Christ, Christ consciousness. Setting aside all the thoughts and worries of the world. From the Course, there is a light in you which is so holy that the world is sanctified because of your presence. A light in you that's so holy. This is not a hopefully, a maybe, it's a fact. All space is made holy because of our true light. Having completely emptied himself of his ego, Jesus could say, "The ego I am not is not the source of the words I speak. The ego I am not is not the source of the words I speak. It is the I am who dwells in me that does my work." Once the apostles went out to sea, out to the ocean without Jesus. The winds came up and grew rough and tossed the boat around. Jesus walked out to them, walking on water, and said, "It is I am. Do not be afraid." One of the times Jesus was followed by a large crowd and they needed food. Everybody was hungry, and Jesus said, "I am the bread of life. Whoever comes to me," which means I am, "would never be hungry." If you turn to your I am, you cannot be hungry. Another time he spoke and said, "I am the light of the world. No follower of mine," which is the I am, "will wander in darkness." The I am is the light of the world. He says, "You, the ego I am not, are of what is below. I am is what is from above. That is why, unless you come to identify with I am, you will die in your limiting beliefs." He approaches a man who is blind from birth, and he says, "As long as I am is in the world, I am is the light of the world." And when they came to arrest Jesus, in one version of the story, it's said as follows. They came to arrest Jesus, and he says, "Who are you here for?" And they said, "Jesus, the Nazarene," and he said, "I am." And when Jesus said to the soldiers who came to arrest him, "I am," the ground shook and they all fell backwards to the ground. And of course, when he was arrested and he was asked, "Are you the Son of God?" he answered, "I am." Now, take any of these and think of how to apply these in your life. Imagine in your day-to-day life right now, people are pointing fingers at you, shaming you, accusing you, being rude to you. Such as the case when the soldiers came to arrest Jesus. It means when people have come to accuse you, to shame you, to harm you, he said to them, "I am," and they all fell backwards. So imagine being in any scenario of challenge and deciding to choose, to know who you are. To decide to be I am. How you would respond differently, but the very notion of calling in that presence and being that presence. See how it takes all the accusers and lets them fall back. Don't try to harm them, just they fall away. A person that attacks, they cut you off on the road. That's like saying they've come to arrest you. It means they've come to hook you into hatred or fear. And your answer, they cut you off, you say, "I am." I am. The I am says, "I'm fine here." And then imagine peace flooding the other car as well as yours. Imagine when you have to fix a situation like Jesus curing a man of blindness. Who do you think you are trying to advise me? Who do you think you are? You're just another family member. You don't have any wisdom. We want you to be as messed up as we are. And then remember, I am is the light of the world. I am that I am. It doesn't mean you say those words to them and make them hate you even more. It's just the knowingness. I am. I am the light of the world. And as long as I am in the world, I will be the light of the world. The woman he meets by the well, and he tells her, "What are you doing?" She says, "I've come to get water." He said, "There's a water that would, if you drink it, you'd never be thirsty again. She said, what is that water? I want some of that water. I am, he answers. And he's not personalizing it, meaning I am special. It means the I am in us is that living water. The I am in us. So we'll take the last minute here. Go wherever your mind needs to go, whether it's curing problems, whether it's holding space, but take yourself into a meditation. I am that I am. How does that look in your day-to-day life? I am that I am. Be still and know that I am God. Command that to any problems. Be still. It means chill, lighten up, back off, and know that the I am presence of God is here. Tell it to your fears, your doubts, your shames, regrets. It's not to pretend you didn't do something. You learn from it if you'd like. But come back to affirming the truth of God. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am. Be still and know that I. Be still and know. Be still. Be. And in remembering that I am as God created me, I feel good. There's a celebration in my soul when I say I am as God created me. So everyone just take a moment to give thanks for this experience. Give thanks, but in a way that feels celebratory. This is great. I am as God created me. For some of us, it's going to be, the most important piece will be, thank God because I'm not that other thing I thought I was when I made some mistakes in my life. The mistakes are corrected by the I am presence of God. So, for some it'll be important in contrast to the other things we thought about ourselves. For others, it's going to be an empowering statement of presence. For others, it'll be a prosperity statement that's important. I am as God created me. I am the prosperity of God on earth. I am abundant. I am as God created me. I am health and wholeness. I am also the presence of God in the form of, I am holding such an amount of light here that illnesses fall away when I arrive. It parts the sea of emotions or matter. All things fall away because I am that I am. And so it is.